Hi everyone, this is Heather here with Treasured Hometown. Today I wanted to go over with you how to create this. It is a simple Granny Squares tote bag. Now this one uses a slightly different style than my other videos on how to do the Granny Squares, but it makes so that you can actually change colors between each row without having to do a tie-off in between each row in order to create this. This was kind of done as, you know, something green for St. Patty's Day coming up here very soon. So I wanted to go ahead and show you that. And just like all my other tutorials, all the materials used to create this pattern will actually be linked in the video description box below. Now I do have another little short video that goes through how to do the slip stitch method for sewing all these squares together. That video is actually going to be linked in here also for those who don't know how to do that method to attach all the squares together. And if you don't, overlook it. You won't need to look at it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. For today's pattern, we'll need just a few supplies in order to get started. We'll need scissors in order to cut our yarn. We'll need a darning needle in order to weave in ends. For this, I'll be using a 4mm crochet hook. We'll need 2 different color yarns. I am using just a number 4 weight, worsted weight acrylic yarn. I am using white, and I am using, for my offset color, it's a mandala ombre. It's an acrylic number 4 weight also, and this one, the color is Zen. And each of these will use about 3/4 of a skein of yarn in order to create this project. To begin row 1, we're going to simply start with a magic ring. So hold your tail end between your thumb and forefingers and wrap around. So then your working end is facing towards you. And then simply lay it back. Insert your hook between your 2 fingers. Grab that working end of your yarn, pull up a loop, and then from here, chain 3. Now we want to put 3 more double crochets into that magic ring. So yarn over, go into the ring and pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, go through your first 2 loops, yarn over, go through your last 2 loops. So that's a double crochet. So we want 2 more. And then we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to work 4 more double crochets into the ring. And then a chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets into the ring. And then chain 1. Then we're going to grab our tail end of our magic ring and we're going to pull on it in order to close. And then right here at the beginning, we had our first chain 3 of the round. We're going to go into that 3rd chain and slip stitch right into there in order to join. And then into our next stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch also. So it's kind of working into the sides. And into each double crochet across until we get right before that chain 1 space. Okay. Now we want to grab from here our 2nd color yarn, and we're going to go into that chain 1 space and pull up our loop, and do a slip stitch in order to join it. And from here, we'll chain 3. Now for our tail ends, we're going to work around those tail ends, so we kind of weave them right in. Now we want to put 3 more double crochets into that same chain 1 space. Now we're going to do a chain 1 and then 4 more double crochets into that same chain 1 space. And then off of here, we're going to skip over to this next chain 1 space. We're not going to do a chain 1 in between here. And we're going to put 4 more double crochets into this chain 1 space. And then a chain 1 and 4 more double crochets into that same chain 1 space. And then we're just going to continue going around 4 double crochets into each of the chain 1 spaces, a chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets. And then here we're going to slip stitch right into that 3rd chain of our first chain 3 of our round in order to join, and then we're just going to slip stitch across until we get to right before that last chain 1 space, and we're going to bring our white end back up, and we're going to go into there and grab the end of the white yarn and pull through like a little slip stitch into there. And then from there, chain 3, and then we're going to work 3 more double crochets. A chain 1, and then 4 double crochets. And then from here, we're going to skip over right into that space between. We didn't do a chain 1 between those 2, but we're going to put 4 double crochets into there. And yes, make sure you're still working your end of the green yarn also. And then after we've done the 4, we're going to want to do another corner here. So that one is work 4 double crochets, a chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets. And then we just continue right from here, so into the space between those clusters of 4 double crochets, we're going to do 4 double crochets and then rework our corners. We're going to do this all the way until the end. And then from here we slip stitch into that 3rd chain of our first chain 3 of the round in order to join. And there we are, round 3. Now for round 4, we'll slip stitch into the next 3 double crochets. Then we'll slip stitch into the chain 1 space, but we're going to switch back to our green yarn. And then from here, chain 3. Then we're going to put 3 more double crochets into this corner. And then we chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets. And then into the space between our next little clusters here, we'll do 4 double crochets and 4 double crochets. And then working our corner, 4 double crochets, a chain 1, and then 4 more double crochets. And then we just continue working this into each corner, 4 double crochets, a chain 1, and 4 more double crochets. And then into each of the spaces between double crochet 4 clusters, you're going to want to do another cluster of 4 double crochets, and we keep repeating this all the way around. And slip stitch into the 3rd chain of your first double chain 3 of the round in order to join. And there we are with the end of round 4. Now for the 5th row, we're going to slip stitch across 1, 2, 3, and then into that chain 1, we're going to work switching over to our first color. Chain 3, and then 3 double crochets, a chain 1, and 4 double crochets, And then we're just going to continue working the pattern for this round. And then at the end, slip stitch into the third chain of your first chain 3 of the round in order to join. And there is how to create this pattern of the granny squares for alternating each and every row throughout it. Now for the bag that we're going to show you how to make, we're going to repeat and do 9 squares of this up to 5 rows. So, and what I'm going to do is actually alternate between the two of them. If I start with the green inside on some of them and on white, so then we can alternate throughout them. Now for the front of the bag, of our main big square for the front, we're actually going to extend that one until we reach 15 rows, and we'll want to make 2 of those. So here we have all of our squares completed for this bag. I have the 9 squares with 5 rows, and then the 2 squares going up to 15 rows. Now to piece this together, we're going to want to take our 9 squares and we're going to want to slip stitch them all together along the one side seam into one very long piece. And then from there, we're going to take those seams and stitch them all along the one side of the bag. So 3 squares onto the side of one front panel. And then we're going to turn and slip stitch, continue going, so it'll form kind of like this, so it's squaring up, and then 3 more of those little panels down this next side, and then turn and come up the last side. So we're going to do 3 sides, and then we're going to repeat that to attach the back side. Here, I'm hoping this makes it a little bit easier for everyone to picture. Here is our 2 squares at 15 rows, and here is our 9 squares at 5 rows. So we're going to slip stitch all of those together just down the one side where the solid lines are, and then we're going to bring this side up here, slip stitch down here, which is going to be on this side along the bottom edge, and then coming up to attach this up here and repeating the same process on the other side. Now if you're unsure of how to do the slip stitch, I will actually have a video link that actually goes through how to do the slip stitch in order to slip stitch granny squares together, and that will actually be in the video description box below. So now we have all of our bag all stitched together. So we have our sides through the bottom, the front and the back. Now our next step here is going to be creating the handles. Now for our last step, what we got to do is create our straps. So now we're going to look at the front side panel or the back side panel, whichever you want to prefer to call it. And we have our, along the top, the first cluster of 4, the second cluster of 4, and then starting into the top of the first stitch for the third cluster of 4, we're going to attach our yarn into there. And from here, we're going to chain 3. Then we're going to put 1 double crochet into each of the next 7 stitches. And then from here, we're going to chain 2. Then we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to work into this very first stitch. So right where our chain 2 came out of, we're going to put 1 double crochet there. And then we're going to double crochet across into each double crochet from the previous row. And then our last double crochet is going to go into that third chain from that first chain 3 of the last round that we did. Now from here, we're going to chain 2, and this will be our repeat for each row. And then we're going to double crochet again into this very first stitch. So this chain 2 does not count as a stitch at all. And we're going to double crochet into that one, and then the next 7 stitches. And there we are. So we're just going to continue repeating this until we come up with 38 total rows. So we chain 2, turn our work, and then double crochet into the very first stitch, and again into the next 7 stitches. So we're putting 8 double crochets per row. And I'll meet you back here as soon as we get all 38 rows into the strap created. So here we are, we've completed all 38 rows. Now I'm going to tie off, leaving at least an 18-inch tail. Then I'm going to bring the strap up, making sure I don't bend or twist it. And we kind of lay it over, and here I'll use my darning needle. You could do this with just your crochet hook, but I do find it much easier to use the darning needle. Now we're going to match it up the same as we did as we started. So our first cluster of 4, second cluster of 4, and then here's our third cluster of 4. So our strap ends to the outside. We're going to simply go into the stitch, match to the row above on the strap, and I'm going to weave it through twice per stitch all the way across, so there will be 8 stitches. And then from here, we'll simply weave in our ends. And then repeat that same process, but for the other side. And then weave in any remaining ends that you might have. And there you are with your lovely Granny Squares tote bag. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave it a thumbs up like. Let me know in the comment section about the pattern. And if you have yet to subscribe, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button with that bell notification next to it so you can get a heads up every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.